The following program is the third and final part of a series produced by the students of Madison Park High School, English High School, and the Jeremiah E. Burke High School under the supervision of Mass Rock Against Racism. For the past 8 months, the students from these 3 schools have been working on a dream: to polish up their acts, to share the styles, sights, and sounds of urban youth culture with a wider audience, and most importantly, to prove that they could cooperate, that they were bigger than racists and racism. Thanks to the material support provided to this project by District 9, Boston Public Schools, and UMass Boston, as well as the technical support donated by the Boston Community Access and Programming Foundation, that dream to share skills, interest, and culture with the world has come true. Join us now for our third and final production, Jeremiah E. Burke Jam. Rapping, that brand of street poetry that marches with a steady beat, has made it a long way from the streets of the South Bronx to the streets of Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. Join our own local version of the rap phenomenon, the Rappeteers.
Before we even get started, the names are Sugar, Sweet, and Honey. We've been rapping since the age of 1, 2, and 3. When we're rapping on the mic, we don't like to shout. And on the turntable is Master C to turn it out. Boogie bang to the rock.
When we're rapping on the mic, we can't be stopped.
Check me out, y'all. Check me out, y'all.
Check me out, y'all. Let's check us out.
Oh, we're the 3 Rappeteers from Dorchester town.
We're letting you know it's time to get down.
Put your hands together. Start rocking to the groove.
Cause we're here to make your body move.
Are you ready? Get set.
Start rocking with the beat. You can check us up and down from our head to our feet.
Well, they call me Sugar Bee from my head to my feet. They call me Sweet Pea from my head to my feet.
They call me Honey Bee from my head to my feet. No other female rhymer could ever compete.
I'm just a cool, calm girl rocking to the beat. I'm a well-known girl who sounds so sweet. Cause we're the 3 Rappeteers. We like to have fun with Sugar, Sweet, and Honey. No, it's number 1. And with a rappeteer is gonna rap for you. And to the other female rhymers, what you gonna do?
You're gonna jump out your seat and listen to our voice. Don't say another word, you have no other choice.
I'm Sugar,
Sweet, Honey, we're known to be the best. We're those 3 rappeteers who pass the rapping test.
Check us out, and even our zodiac signs. And when you listen to the beat, it puts some thought in your mind.
Some fast, some slow, some even loud. And when we're running down our rhyme, we always draw a crowd.
Well, Norman is my name, Aquarius is my sign. I'm the well-known girl who's short and fine. Well, Vivian is my name, Aries is my sign. I'm the cool, calm girl who's one of a kind.
You see, Michelle is my name, and Aries is my sign. To compete with me, you got to have a lot of rhyme to the beat. Sugar Bee has a lot of finesse. Come on, Sugar Bee, and put him to a test.
Yes, I'm Sugar Bee. I put you to a test. I'm a sweet guy girl. It's going to be the best. My favorite thing is being on the mic and running down my rhyme. It's just what I like. My real name is Norman, and I'm dressed to a T. And here's a little message. And here's a little message. And here's a little message to the sucker MCs. When I'm running down my rhyme, cool as could be. Don't want nobody stand right at me because it takes my rhyme to ride on down. And next thing you know, I am all over town. See, I was dissing at a party doing what I like. And then the sucker MC just got on the mic. Just to say my rhyme, 2 and 3. I busted the door. She said, hey, Sugar Bee, rock to the funky beat. So I grabbed the mic. I ran it down right. The look on her face was a terrible fright. I said, you sucker MC, you look like a swine. When somebody say a rap, you rock down the rhyme. Sweet is kidding, fine is right. I never try to duplicate anybody's rhyme. When I move my body, I try to be loose. I got more rhymes than Mother Goose. I got more rhymes than the clock tell time. And I never do use the same old line like that, y'all. And you don't stop, you don't stop, you don't stop. You see, I rap to the boogie, I rap to the back. I rap to Sweet Pea, cause I know she can hang. The Sweet Pea is a name, and rapping is my game. No other rapper can ever be the same. I'm here on the go, I wanna tell you what I know. And I was born in Beantown of the Big M.A. Well, I was raised in a very special way, but before I could walk, I began Head Start. And this is the story how I became smart. When I was younger, I always wanted to be the baddest rapper for anybody. But then my father told me not to be so bad. But then my mother told me to be very glad of where I came from or who I am. Cause I was born on the sign of Aries and Ram. I know the Aries, they are the best because I'm a Sweet Pea and don't take no mess. So all of you jump out of your seat and rock you to the rhythm of this beat. But that's not it because I rap a little more for you people out there who thinks I'm a bore. I'm an eye, weak head, turning neck, twisting pad, picking hips, shaking hand, clapping fingers, snapping knee, pop a foot, stopping,
record playing, party going, break dancing, body taking fact. Fast speaking girl, I'm on the go. I'm really very sweet, and that you should know. I'm sweeter than sweet, I'm colder than cold. I'm one of a kind, and that's no joke. But so now that you heard this about me, check out the sounds of Honeybee. I say A is for apple, J is for Jack. My girl Honeybee got a devastating rap.
To the beat, 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 to the beat. I'm Honeybee. I'm rapping with class. I'm like a Cadillac. I rap slow or fast, 'cause I'm the one and only, never lonely, full of fun. I'm number one. Don't waste the time to see my rap. I'm women time to see my rap. I'm being a player. Can't stay out of the dedicated, devastated, modify. I'm satisfied. I'm capable, predictable. Because this is the year of 1984. I'm rapping on the mic, people breaking on the floor. Think for a minute, 'cause I waste no time. And to the people out there, the people at home, the people in the street, I rap with the beat. I check me out, I'm devastated and I'm so unique. The fact I like to tell to the people, here's the fact. To the beat, y'all, my nationality's black. To the brown, white, yellow, orange, purple, and green, that everybody should work together as a team. Don't try to think you're better and the other person's not. Just look into the mind to seek each other's thoughts. When I'm rapping on the mic, I like to get things right. It doesn't matter if I'm yellow, pink, purple, or white. So check me out, even my rapping beat.
And with the beat, it makes me so unique.
So unique, it makes me unique.
So check me out, y'all.
So check me out, y'all.
Check me out, y'all.
Now check us out.
The following program is the first part of a series produced by the students of Madison Park High School, English High School, and the Jeremiah E. Burke High School under the supervision of Mass Rock Against Racism. For the past 8 months, the students from these 3 schools have been working on a dream: to polish up their acts, to share the styles, sights, and sounds of urban youth culture with a wider audience, and most importantly, to prove that they could cooperate, that they were bigger than the racist and racism. Thanks to the material support provided to this project by District 9 Boston Public Schools and UMass Boston, as well as the technical support donated by the Boston Community Access and Programming Foundation, that dream to share skills, interest, and culture with the world has come true. Join us now for our first production, Madison Park Rocks.
Another culture phenomenon that is sweeping the nation is a kind of street poetry known as rap music. Madison Park is fortunate enough to have some of the finest rappers in the city. I'd like to introduce to you the Incredible She's doing their own rock against racism rap.
There's 2 MCs, my name is Shakespeare. And I'm Christy C.
We're the baddest of the rappers.
Baddest of them rappers. Baddest of them rappers in society. 'Cause we're fresh, right out of the pack. I guarantee to give your people
About attack.
And if you really got the juice,
You're down to hang.
we're a 2-girl team. And it ain't no thing because my name is Christy C.
And I'm Shakespeare.
And there's no other.
There's no other.
There's no other. We're incredible. She's the blacks, the whites,
Change the juice.
or every single one of you. And just stop.
Look.
Listen to us.
The words we say.
Is a must.
Racism is fighting today.
'Cause everybody's looking about the wrong way.
Society today, both black and white.
All they wanna do is fight, but we need to come together
Compromise.
and listen to the words of the wise. R.A.R. say,
Nobody's that.
I rock against racism.
That's true to the fact.
A black, white, Portuguese, Spanish, or brown. We incredible she's are gonna stop the dough down. Just clean out your ears,
Open your eyes.
'cause we got something for you to realize. Racism is
On your block.
And let me say,
That's something
that should be stopped, 'cause we'll all be here for years to come. We gotta stop this war or we'll soon be done. So your parents of today gotta teach you young that racism is not just a fun. So we're the short, shocking, body rocking on the top, non-stopping. We are the incredible she's. And when we get on the mic, we create history.
You got my girl, Christy C.
And my girl, Shay Ski. And we're the baddest MCs there will ever be. My name is Christy C, and I don't like to hate racism in this world. It's out of date.
My name is Shakespeare and I'm colorblind because the color of your skin is not the color of mine.
With no hesitation, I'll rock the nation and ask you about your evaluation. Don't anticipate. I'm here to rate the 8 to
It will be a long wait. You won't get the people to cooperate, to conduct, but I get some out of luck. But I still break back and rock the pot seed. And yes, y'all, to the beat sweet. I'm gonna break your body down to the lowest key. A possibility in my town secretly, shocking the community so openly. So creep it out, y'all, fresh anybody's guess. I be an MC, yes, and I be the best. Because I rock so good, I rock so well. I push more power than a Duracell. Now I'm number one. Oh, what you gonna do? You gotta quit the seed, throw it down just for you. See, I'm a rhyme creator. Here's my data. Rhyming with me can't get no greater. Record spinner, a word prize winner. And then I go home and eat my dinner. Undescribably delicious, forever so vicious. I'm an MC rider, tell her I'm ambitious. Everyone in the place trying to be a rockin' good, fresh, incredible. I'm eager to see. See, I'm not a backstabber. I'm a money grabber. I'ma be a journalist, not a taxi cabber. Super money making in my kitchen, begging up around to get you wild and hip and booty shaking. I don't mean to leave y'all this deep in the dark, but I'm an MC rider from Madison Park. See, everybody in the dome, read me so clean. Was with the two deaf, two deaf.
Two deaf, two deaf.
Yes, two deaf and P machine. J-Ski, yes, my girl. Get on, rock on, shotgun, hit on, get on. Play on the mic and prove it to the world.
I'm J-Ski and I'm the second MC. I'm gonna let you know how I rap the please. I am the best female when I'm turning out. I let all the party people know what I'm about. Cause I'm sweeter than honey, sugar and spice. Nevertheless, I rock the mic. Cause I'm rocking on the microphone with self-touch. Cause I'm a deaf female and I got the next. I had a balance every day. The beat is so far. I can put your guy with the wink of my eye. Cause I'm always on time. I'm never late. I'm a deaf female, no make mistakes. I'm J-Ski and I'm debonair. I'm like a beautiful rocker pushing in a long black hair. And I have a second voice to home with the track. And I'm better than you and I'm doing that. I don't smoke no cheaper or drink no beer. And I'm not a square and I'll prove it to you. I rock any party, shop anymore. Cause I'm a deaf female and I got it up. And I'm sitting on you in.
What you doing? That racism trash you'll soon be chewing.
You'll be
But you be leaving. People always seem to wanna get even. Different races, different places. Prejudice, people are disgraces. People come together, reunite and be strong. We know your mama tried to the right from the wrong. Hey, hey, over there.
back over here.
Throwing out the cheap and dirty vulgar swears makes no sense, yes, but there's evidence that some people wanna make racism past tense. Gonna go and tell your children other races are bad, so sad, of course we're mad. Cause innocent little child, listen to mom and dad. Your decision,
My decision.
we're gonna rock against racism. And your decision,
Got my season.
we're gonna rock against racism.
That was excellent. I would like to introduce Krista Shelton, who will explain the culture, significance of rap music, and why she wrote this particular rap.
Hello, I'm Crystal Shelton. My performer name is Christy C, and this is J-Ski. On the keyboard is Mark Wilson. Our style of music is known as rap music. Rap music is music that is all beat and talk. It's a personal poetry with a message. Like breakdancing, the style originated on the streets of Harlem in the South Bronx. It was discovered by the music industry a few years ago as a new trend that could be sold to a much wider audience. Now it's possible to hear everyone from Malcolm X to the new wave group Blondie on rap records. Elements of rap music have always been well known to people in the black community. The talking blues, the call and response gospel style, and the certain kinds of scat singing and jazz have similarities. The current rap music style, whatever.
My primary interest and concern with this program is to get kids who are, for whatever reasons, sometimes rootless and sometimes without direction, into a field that is a very exciting field and that can turn into a profession for them. There's a lot of talent in the Rock Against Racism kids. There's a lot of talent among kids, period. And if we can teach them the media, if we can teach them how to script, if we can teach them how to run camera, if we can teach them how to switch and direct and to do all those things, we're giving them a leg up on something that's going to be very important for their generation, as well as ours. And I think that's the major reason that that I'm involved as a technical director and as a supporter of the program. And the new program coming up that Fran talked about a little bit will give those young people a real opportunity to see what kind of skills they can acquire and apply to cable television and eventually to network television. We hopefully will turn on our televisions, 5 to 10 years from now and see some of the kids who are involved in the Rock Against Racism program working to change not only their lives, but the society as a whole.
Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in what you did with Rock Against Racism.
Well, I got
And
involved.
yeah, you have a chair right here if you would.
Okay. I got involved because of you and Mackie McLeod and Reeby and my little group of folk that were always in my front room.
Y'all been let me break this in that thing.
Breaking up stuff right there.
Scratch my floor. What's antiques to break?
Messing with my furniture.
And his room was right above us.
Wearing out that one rug that I had. And challenging the hardwood floors. And we decided to do this because Fran said, we ought to do something. And I said, yeah. And she said, I'm not sure I can. I said, I don't want to hear that. We're going to do this if we're going to do this. And we got involved, and we started working with all the young people in the room, the young people who are now old.
That's right.
How that happened then?
This lady is never going to be old. We decided we were going to do something nobody else had ever done.
That's right.
And we were going to do it in a way nobody else had ever done it. And a lot of the things that have happened around the country happened because we started them off right here. And for all that time, Miss Fran, Miss Smith, was pushing with one hand and pulling with the other hand. And I had to keep her standing up because sometimes she wanted to fall down. But we got her to stand up. And then she stood on everybody else. And we got the job done. And I appreciate all the time and all the energy and all the strength from all the young people. And the fact that, people told us we couldn't do it. And the last thing somebody ever needs to tell me is I can't do it.
Amen.
And I said, who the hell are you to tell me I can't do it?
That's right. Thank
So
you,
we
Dan.
did it.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
At this moment, not everybody has the opportunity to grow up with a hip-hop family. I had the pleasure of raising a hip-hop family and had the pleasure of being around a man who is my father. And we were in his house, wearing out his floor. And little by little, he saw what we were doing and really encouraged us to continue to fight. So I'm going to sit here and read this little piece that says, Mackie and Dan were both part of the Roxbury Task Force on cable television, instrumental to getting the first community access studio in Roxbury while it's still there. It's still there to this very day. A question for you, Dad, is How about the impact and how is it now?
The impact reverberates still, and it must never stop. There's a thing called an echo, and some people think the echo goes away. Once that echo begins, it lasts, and it lasts forever. That pebble in the stream keeps going. They talk about and Rock Against Racism began to go from a little seedling to a movement that has come to be a real part of the lives of everyone in this room. And Mackie is not with us now in person, but he's a part of all of us. And some of you will see that. His daughter's still alive. She teaches in the Boston Public Schools at the Agassiz in Jamaica Plain. And the other person was Mel. And Mel, never slept. Funny thing, people talk about, oh, I gotta go rest. Well, Mel never rested. And as was said very famously by Frederick Douglass, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Eternal vigilance. Do you all know how to spell eternal? Do you all know how to spell vigilance? And that's one of the things that Jose has done every week. And in those weeks, every day in those weeks, he said, we are one. We are one, and you have to remember that. And Mel, who just celebrated his 92nd, I believe, birthday, 95 first. Sorry about that. I got to give credit, all the credit. Mel did a wonderful, and is still a wonderful work. Don West is in the audience out here. He's sitting here calmly, not taking pictures. But he's been one of the chroniclers of the Mackie days and the Mel days and the Chuck Turner days and the Jose Masso days and the Rebe Garofalo days and the days of a young lady who barely could get out. I think I need some help. And that was probably the last time that the lady in the middle of this dance we're having, in the middle of this wonderful concoction of beauty and rage and glory, and that little boy or girl up there screaming. Somebody said, quiet the baby down. I said, no, don't quiet the baby down. Let the baby do what the baby's got to do. She is our future. She or he is our future. And someday she'll see a video of this too. But I want to say to my son, one of my sons, one of the children of this convolution, I won't call it revolution, but convolution, that we are very happy to have had you, Mackie, to have you still, very happy to have you, Mel, to have you still, and we're very happy for that child, because that child is us.
Thank you, Dad. Love you, Dad.
Well, my name is Dan Richardson, and what my role was over time was supporting Fran. Mackie McLeod brought me in.
Okay.
And said I had to meet Fran, that she was the one that needed the help. And I said, fine, I'll meet her. And, we met and we talked, and I said, fine, I'll help her out if I can. And I told her some of the things I was doing.
That's your
What I was doing was producing TV for BNN, for Boston Neighborhood Network. And I wasn't the technical director. I did that, but I did everything else too. Fran was a producer, basically. And I was doing the day-to-day directing stuff.
But she didn't have any television experience, right? Like so that
she did when I finished with her.
Exactly, but that's why you were
right.
you were there.
And we collaborated on a number of things, and she basically had the idea for Rock Against Racism along with Ruby. And I just happened to come along and the scene because Mackie introduced me.
Just tell me about Mackie McLeod, because he was a crucial cog in this Rock Against Racism wheel.
Mackie was an activist, community organizer, much the same as I was at that point, because that's how I got involved with the Roxbury studio, was beginning the process in Boston, and how we got RAR off the ground with the video stuff.
Well, actually, let's talk, because you're uniquely qualified about this for many reasons. Tell me about the media landscape for people of color in the 70s and 80s.
Well, there were always a few people that were in the media business. Channel 2 especially was doing stuff. Barbara Barrow Murray, Sarah Anshaw was involved. A guy, interestingly enough, coincidentally enough, was named Ray Richardson, who some people know. And there were other people there, many of whom ended up, in the business of video. A special kind of attention was paid from Channel 2, who had more people than anybody else. But interestingly enough, at that time, the three major news stations in Boston, 7, 5, and 4, all had black anchors. Lavelle Diet was at one, and Jimmy was at the other one, and there was a guy, I'm trying to remember all of his name. He was a movie star, Terry was involved.
But how did it feel? How did the power feel? Did you feel like you had an actual voice? I mean, obviously, a lot of that came out of the Kerner Report. You would agree?
Well, yeah, I guess I would have no choice because I was part of that whole process.
But you were trying to start the Roxbury studio as not as a power move, but as a way to give even more voice to the people of color in the city of Boston. Is that correct?
It was both voice and power, because we would be producing our own stuff. And we paid particular attention to training young people. I trained a couple hundred young people on how to run, a studio, how to set up and how to light and how to do all those different things. And then they had to produce a piece of their own, and then they went from there.
So how did your work, when you got into the Rock Against Racism orbit through Mackie and Fran, how do you feel that impacted the people who were involved with it? I mean, I think an event like this is amazing because people can actually tell you may not have seen some of them for 20 or 30 years.
I saw most of them.
You did? Good.
Not a lot, but I saw them. The most significant ongoing project was RAR, and I wanted Fran to learn how to do it. Now, I'm not sure that she was ever really into that, but she was into what it meant More importantly, she was into what it meant and, you know, how it was going to affect people. And as I said, you know, we trained a couple hundred folk. They learned the business. And we had cooperation from the public schools in a way because we had a studio at Madison Park High School. Wasn't terribly wonderful, but
You had one in the building?
It was there.
Huh.
Didn't work in the summertime because it was too damn hot. And unfortunately, the school department didn't set aside enough money for air conditioning after a point.
What do you think is the lasting legacy of Mass Rock Against Racism, beyond even your involvement in the technical aspect? How do you look at it this many years later?
I'm not sure there is a lasting legacy in the way that most people think. I said it pretty much at the beginning about, the pebble in the pool never stopping, and the ripples, and the fact that the echoes went on to many other places. Rock Against Racism is very much alive because of the people it trained, because of the people it nurtured, because of the platform it created. And that platform still exists. It never went away. It's not hyperactive like it used to be, but it's very real.
An artist, Puerto Rico went through 12 days of manifestations in a peaceful revolution of which 1 million plus people of a 3.5 million population of an island, 100 by 35, made it possible that a governor would have to cede his role as the leader of a community because of his homophobia, because of his sexism, because of his racism and classism, and it was led by women and people in the music industry, including hip-hop artists and others that are today well-known in the industry of reggaeton. They were led by people in the music industry who, similar to what you're hearing today in celebration of 40 years of Rock Against Racism, gathered together and used their influence and the power of convening and their voice through music and song to unite a people. 3.5 million people. A peaceful revolution without bloodshed that turned a governor. So I share that to say that the work continues, but that the effort and the leadership of those who are artists who are committed and enlightened, when they get together, regardless of their background, are able to affect change and influence young people so that they are empowered, and in their empowerment, take the reins of what the future will be. As an elder statesman sitting here at this august panel of good people, and I look at young people, I sleep well at night because I know the young people who are here in this room today will be the change agents to change this world to be a better place. And I have no doubt of that. So, in closing, I will say that the power of music continues today, that those who have inherited the mantle of being the messengers through their music and song and through the words of inspiration do so every day because they are on the right side of justice, and they know that through music and song, they can use that to speak truth to power.
Bien hecho, bien dicho. Muchas gracias, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Jose. At this moment, I want you to take the time to turn to your neighbor and to ask your neighbor, what have you done to help this movement? What have you done to help this movement? So turn to your neighbor and have a quick conversation. I'll give you a minute to have a conversation about that. And let it expand. What have you done to make this movement, to help this movement? Good question.
What do you do now?
No boss, man. Especially now, there's no boss. Just when you think this meeting is over, I was stopping at work. He said, "This is your brother."
Do you guys remember each other at all?
I appreciate you. You got 30 seconds. 30 seconds and wrap the long conversation up.
That day we celebrated that.
You have 15 seconds. 15 seconds to wrap your conversation up. Sweet pea dip, hey! Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you can please turn your attention back to me. At this moment, not everybody has the opportunity to grow up with a hip-hop family. I had the pleasure of raising a hip-hop family and had the pleasure of being around a man who is my father. We were in his house, wearing out his floor, and little by little he saw what we were doing and really encouraged us to continue to fight. So I'm going to sit here and read this little piece that says, Mackie and Dan were both part of the Roxbury Task Force on cable television, instrumental to getting the first community access studio in Roxbury while it's still there. It's still there to this very day. A question for you, Dad, is how about the impact and how is it now?
Well, the impact reverberates.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
The impact reverberates still, and it must never stop. There's a thing called an echo, and you know, some people think the echo goes away. Once that echo begins, it lasts, and it lasts forever. That pebble in the stream keeps going. They talk about Mackie, and Mackie was a giant. And Mackie, interestingly enough, was the one who introduced me to Fran Smith. And Fran was a little fragile, and And Fran was a little introverted, for those of you who don't believe it.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Nobody feels that way about me anymore.
And Fran said, I want to do this thing. And I said, well, what is it? And she almost whispered. But the whisper started out small and it grew. And Rock Against Racism began to go from a little seedling to a movement that, has come to be a real part of the lives of everyone in this room. And Mackie is not with us now in person, but he's a part of all of us. And some of you will see that. His daughter's still alive. She teaches in the Boston Public Schools at the Agassiz in Jamaica Plain. And the other person was Mel. And Mel, never slept. Funny thing, people talk about, oh, I gotta go rest. Well, Mel never rested. And as was said very famously by Frederick Douglass, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Eternal vigilance. Do you all know how to spell eternal? Do you all know how to spell vigilance? And that's one of the things that Jose has done every week. And in those weeks, every day in those weeks, he has said, we are one. We are one, and you have to remember that. And Mel, who just celebrated his 92nd, I believe, birthday, 95 first. Sorry about that. I got to give credit, all the credit. Mel did a wonderful, and is still a wonderful work. Don West is in the audience out here. He's sitting here calmly, not taking pictures. But he's been one of the chroniclers of the Mackie days and the Mel days and the Chuck Turner days and the Jose Masso days and the Rebe Garofalo days and the days of a young lady who barely could get out. I think I need some help. And that was probably the last time that the lady in the middle of this dance we're having, in the middle of this wonderful concoction of beauty and rage and glory, and that little boy or girl up there screaming. Somebody said, quiet the baby down. I said, no, don't quiet the baby down. Let the baby do what the baby's got to do. She is our future. She or he is our future. And someday she'll see a video of all this too. But I want to say to my son, one of my sons, one of the children of this convolution, I won't call it revolution, but convolution, that we are very happy to have had you, Mackie, to have you still, very happy to have you, Mel, to have you still, and we're very happy for that child, because that child is us.
Thank you, Dad.
Love you, Dad. Love you. And there's a clip. Is this the clip? Is this the clip? The clip that he directed? Is it that one?
Mackie and Mel.
Oh, Mackie and Mel. Okay, right. We got that clip later on. Clip, please.
He was the technical director of all of our videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I mentioned when we began, Mass Rock Against Racism started 6 years ago through the will and the concern of a number of musicians, radio people, and educators, all of whom were concerned with the superheated and antagonistic racial atmosphere here in the city of Boston. You don't have to think back too far to remember how it was in 1979 when in the schools and in the streets you were in danger. This was not a safe city. I would venture that this was, as I heard it described today, Beirut on the Charles River. Sort of a northern Belfast situation where there were no-go zones, as there still are, where people were fully intimidated, and how that was manifested was in the fact that you couldn't go to a concert in a certain part of the city. You couldn't see music performed on the same stage that came from different cultural roots. Well, we decided as a group that that era had to end if anything was going to happen in Boston that spoke of progress. And so for the past 6 years, we, through our own resources, along with many of the young people here in the city of Boston from neighborhoods all over the city, have made it our business to do what people like Don Law and some of the other big promoters won't do, and that's give the people the kind of music that they want. Don't put in the artificial divisions that the music industry has been so good in introducing into music.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Survival, founder of Summerfest and host of Fest Friends on the season finale. Oh, I know, season finale. Anyway, on the season finale of Fest Friends, I casually flirt in person with the one woman I'm legally allowed to, my wife, magician Zoe Righteous. Don't worry, it's all rated G. You know what? It's rated PG-13, but nothing disappears. Tune in this Friday, September 4th, only on Summerfest IG and YouTube channel.